Episode 200, the Marine Corps Marathon, with myself being interviewed by Mark Sissons and Gemma Hollis. Welcome to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in it for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're actually going to be talking about my race at the Marine Corps Marathon, and today I have Gemma Hollis with Push God Kick out of the Woodlands, Texas, and Mark Sissons that was on earlier this year about New Zealand, and they're going to be interviewing me about my race instead of me interviewing other people about their race. So everybody's going to get a chance to listen about what I do during my races and how I approach things. So this is going to be a little bit different. Welcome to the show, and now it's my turn to be in the hot seat for a change.
That's a good idea that would finally get to interview you.
Yeah. So, Gemma, Mark, who wants to go first on this?
Ladies first, I'd say.
Oh, look at that. All righty. So, do you want to just give us a bit of an overview of which race you did and where and that kind of thing?
Okay, so I did the Marine Corps Marathon, and this was on October 28th, 2018, and the temperature on race day was around 45 to, and it rose to about 60 or so, with some pretty interesting weather conditions leading up to it. It was raining the days prior, and every day that we checked the weather, it was actually looking like it would be just a mental beatdown of a race, but then on race day, it actually turned out to be a pretty good race.
Awesome.
Cool. So 45 degrees, bit chilly for you.
Yeah. Training in Texas, not really expecting all that.
So had you prepared? What did you take with you to cope with the cold?
So I basically took everything that I wanted to take in relationship to, I wanted to have basically all my options. I brought arm warmers, I brought tights, I brought wind pants, I brought throwaway clothes, I brought beanies to throw away, I brought anything I wanted to take to throw away as well as use. So I ended up using on race day arm warmers to run in. I had a throwaway shirt, throwaway pants, and synthetic socks, and just my short shorts. Use Brooks shorts, 1.5 inch inseam, because I wear short shorts.
Look at you, old school.
I know. Body glided up and be good. Don't have to worry about it. And I just wore a singlet.
Yeah. How do you find training in the heat and then going to race in the cold? Do you like it?
I do. It's pretty nice. I feel like it's just a very different contrast, and it turns out pretty well because you can actually go faster in cooler weather, and there's no humidity really. So
yeah.
I found that pretty good.
Awesome.
Is it more like you just go, oh, it's cold, I want to get this over and done with?
Sometimes, but it wasn't like it was brutally cold. I mean, here in Texas right now, it's in like the low teens for wind chill, and it's been really crazy recently, so I'm glad it wasn't that cold.
Did you have wind? Was it windy?
Not that bad. I don't remember too much wind on there.
I guess you were lucky with it. Like you said, the weather wasn't too good until race day.
Yeah, it was raining the days prior. I mean, we had to buy umbrellas up there. It was craziness. I brought 2 pairs of shoes for just walking around because I knew one of my pairs of shoes was actually going to be messed up because of water, and I just ended up leaving that pair of shoes there, so that way I didn't have to bother having wet feet.
Yeah.
So that was the race. Shall we kind of talk through your build up to the race? So kind of training and stuff like that?
Sure. So I didn't do much swimming or biking going into this race. I did some strength training in early August leading into some September, and then I phased that out about mid-September. I was going to the gym about 3-4 times a week, just doing 4 rounds or 5 rounds of 10 reps of pull downs, some pushes, and some leg presses, things like that. Nothing too big, not a lot of weight, just more getting the control there, and then tapered that out. And I'm actually using Ben Drezik as a coach. He's out of Denton, Texas, and I've used him before for marathon training, and we did the New York City Marathon together, and now then we did the Marine Corps Marathon together. And his training is a little bit different. I like it because he sends me an email versus using Training Peaks, and he looks at everything on Garmin Connect versus Training Peaks, and I like it. So a lot less stress for me. I get an email once a week, print it off. All right, here's the workouts. I just check them off one by one. During the week was mostly 45 minutes to an hour, 3-4 times a week. And then on the weekend, we built up to 18 miles. And he was wanting consistent running on outside, which I love, but my safety is a little bit more of a priority. And with a lot of the weekends in October, I had a little bit of September, I had a little bit of an issue there because my wife is getting her CPA, which in America, I don't know if you have this down there, Mark, it's basically like an accounting degree on steroids, and it's basically the same thing. So she was actually working on getting that in September, and that impacted my training because on Saturday and Sunday she was in class, and I don't really want to go out for an 18-mile run and no one really know where I am. And if I disappear, get hit by a car, or I get a heat stroke out there in the middle of nowhere, I'm out there by myself. So to mitigate the risk there, I was actually doing long runs on the treadmill and outside. So I was doing 3 miles outside, 3 miles inside, 3 miles inside, 3 miles outside, going back and forth and increasing the pace with each round. And that was pretty fun. I changed it up some. I was able to run without a shirt or swap shirts, and bathroom was handy, and I could actually nail my nutrition a lot better and more consistently that way. I didn't really do much track training or hill training, which I think looking back on it, I wish I would have integrated a little bit more of the track on there as well as a little bit more hill training, because there were a few hills in there, but nothing too bad. I feel like the first 3 miles they say are hilly, but I didn't really feel the hills there. And towards the last 200 yards of the race, it's just like this little fuck you hill, basically. and it sucks, but it's nothing too bad. But I think some of the hill training could have been a little bit better.
So, like you just said you're doing 3 miles on a treadmill and then you'd go straight outside?
Yeah. I have a treadmill at home, and I would just do 3 loops around the neighborhood, which is right at 3 miles, and then come right back inside and do 2-3 miles on the treadmill again, and then go at tempo a little bit faster, and then go right back outside and go a little bit faster.
Yeah. Did your neighbours actually come and see you and think you were a bit nuts just going round and round and round?
No. Whenever I was doing New York City, I did something similar to this, and it was I would literally just do 8 to 10 laps around the neighborhood, and it's a 0.95 around the neighborhood, and it was pretty interesting because some neighbors were out there like mowing their grass or hanging out, and I was just literally like going by and around and around and around, like. And usually it takes about 10 to 12 minutes per lap, and they're like, "What is he doing?" And I've gotten compliments on my short shorts before. That's pretty funny. These little kids are like, "Why is he wearing shorts like that?" It doesn't matter to me.
You're working on your high tan lines.
Exactly.
At any stage, like running on the treadmill, were you just trying to zone out, or what was keeping you focused on the treadmill per se? Did you have like music playing, or you were just pounding it out basically?
So sometimes I was listening to music. Sometimes I would actually watch tutorial videos. That's what I like to watch. Drives Anne-Marie up the wall. And tutorial videos on Canva, on how to make an ebook, how to publish an ebook, how to anything ebook related. I've probably watched it on YouTube, and that's some of the stuff I like to learn about. So as I was sitting there watching on the treadmill how to do an ebook and how to publish it, how to sell it, how to have it safely so it doesn't expose people to fraud on other websites, then I would actually go run outside and think about the same things. Well, what questions do I have about this? And then how do I pull this up the next time I go inside? And basically using all that time efficiently versus wasting that time listening to music where there's no real return on my investment of that time. So sometimes I would just completely turn off all of it and just let my mind wander, which I find pretty nice. Let's see. Some of the other things I watched was how to, one of them was how to actually post effectively on Instagram, like things like that, because now I have a more presence on Instagram, and I'm hopefully building that up through the end of next month, and then I'll just start putting 201 on January 1 of next year. So hopefully it lines up like that. Hopefully.
Cool.
With your training, did you miss any or get injured?
So I didn't get injured, but I would say I missed a handful of days, probably 3 to 5 days, somewhere amongst all that in the last 8 to 10 weeks leading up. Because the timing of the day where I would work out really got on Anne-Marie's nerves, because I would wait until she got home, and the podcast is really consuming me a lot more than she wanted it to, because I'm really trying to hit 200 episodes this year, and she would always complain, well, you've been home all day, why haven't you done your run yet? She gets home and she has to run because she was doing the 10K, and I'm already like, well, I'll just wait till you get off the treadmill, which now it's already 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Now I have to do my run. And it was just easier for me to just, you know what? I'll just do nothing today. I'll roll out a little bit. So
she wasn't on the other side, like saying, well, you've been home all day. Why haven't you done the washing?
No. I mean, I'm sure that came up, but usually with the laundry and the dishes, it's a little bit easier. I mean, that we keep up on that pretty well.
How do you find the shift from tri training to run specific, where you're not got the variety in the same way?
So I knew this was going to be asked because of all of the stuff I've interviewed, and I like it because I'm a previous runner, and running is like my go-to. I ran 12 half marathons and 1 marathon in 2009. I was all about running before I had a bike or I knew how to really swim. So I find it pretty easy for me, but for somebody that's a die-hard triathlete that's always been a triathlete and wants to always be a triathlete, it's probably going to be a little bit of a challenge because I didn't put the variety of swimming and biking into my training plan. I didn't really care about if it was really there or not. So it didn't really bother me. But for people that want that swimming in there, I feel like it could be a good cross training, and that biking fitness will definitely transfer over to the run. So it's there. As long as your cadence is around 85 to 90, I feel like the bike would transfer over. It would just be a matter of putting it in there on the right days. You don't want to put it in there a hard bike ride right before your long run. I mean, I don't feel like that's going to be beneficial for a marathon.
Be like running on tired legs.
Exactly. Well, and spoken like a true swim coach, the the benefits to the run from the aerobic conditioning of swimming without having the impact. There's a lot of evidence now of bringing that swim in to marathon or run specific training.
Really?
Oh. And aqua jogging. That's really growing in popularity and the evidence of how much you can maintain your run fitness through aqua jogging.
So what's the right way to do aqua jogging then?
Two different. You're either doing it. There's loads of stuff out there on the internet at the moment about aqua jogging, but definitely two options. You're either doing it in a deep pool where you've got a floating belt, which, especially if you're recovering from specific injuries, can be more beneficial, because the other way of doing it is in a pool where you can touch the bottom, so you'd actually have the running motion and come in contact with floor versus just being floating in the water. But I did it after a bad bike crash where I couldn't run, and it was amazing, actually, anecdotally for me, how I was able to maintain that run fitness. But starting to see more and more coaches bringing it in, not just as the rehab concept, but as a variety and just something away from the body of consistent running, back-to-back days running.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Very different.
It is boring. You've got to find a way of making it exciting.
I'd be looking for the waterproof headphones or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Make it interesting and put some
podcasts.
Yeah, blackout masks on and see if you can do it in a straight line.
Oh gosh. Wow.
So how did you damage your arms, shoulders, head aqua jogging? I jogged into the wall.
Yeah.
Wow.
So obviously this wasn't your first marathon.
No, it wasn't.
So how long ago since you last ran one?
The last marathon I did was in 2016, which was in New York City.
Oh, just a bit of a gap. So in the back of your mind, were you initially hesitant about running that distance, or you knew that, hey, I've done it before, I can do it?
I wasn't really nervous about it because the goal for this race was a little bit different than the previous marathons that I've done.
Yeah.
The goal for this race was to literally have fun, because whenever I signed up for it, well, the whole sign-up process was pretty interesting. I did Galveston earlier this year, 70.3, which was in April, and going into that race, it was probably in February, maybe March, whenever my wife was in the pool, and I was sitting there. I go to the pool with her to give her moral support and emotional support while she swims. Yeah. And I'm over here just texting on the phone, and I'm talking to this Marine, Morgan Latimore, and we're just sitting here texting back and forth, and he's like, hey, I just signed up for the Marine Corps Marathon. I'm like, cool, good for you. And he's like, you should sign up. And I was like, why? And he's like, well, we can do it together. And I was like, okay, well, there is unfinished business there, because in 2012 I was registered and I did not start that race. I went and picked up my packet and all that, and I just wasn't ready for it. But then this time it's like, there's no lottery now. I can just go in there and sign up and just do it. So he convinced me just go ahead and sign up and do it, and then went into it with that impression of, hey, we're just going to run it together regardless of how long it takes, and just enjoy the day and make some memories along the way. So that was the whole idea of it. And walk when we want, run when we want, and hopefully it not be too hurt at the end.
While you're doing it, you're actually a couple of times, you went Facebook Live?
Yeah.
Yep, that was quite interesting. You get a few people looking at you thinking, hey, you should be running, not doing that?
Yes, that happens. So, I mean, I didn't care. It was just enjoy it and make memories. I mean, I got to learn so much about Morgan and his coaching and Latitude Pure Coaching, which is his platform, and more about him, his family, his upbringing. I mean, and I shared a lot with him as well. It's really great.
So the race itself, was it broken into age groups for like qualifying and things like that, or was it just an open race?
It was an open race. There was no qualifying standards or anything like that. If you get in, you can get in and run it.
Awesome.
And what's the atmosphere? I've heard I don't know a great deal, but I know people have passed the comment before that the Marine Corps Marathon, the atmosphere is like no other.
So doing New York and then coming to Marine Corps at New York City, I mean, this is obviously after the Boston Marathon bombing, and being I was in the military, I'm always thinking of, backstory on me, when I was in the Army, I was route clearance, and route clearance, we are looking for IEDs all day, which is improvised explosive devices, which are basically homemade bombs. And that's what I was doing in the Army. And now then translating that over to my civilian life, whenever I am in large groups of people, it's always like, all right, if I was going to put a bomb somewhere, where would I put it? Where would I put it, So that was my thought process, even in New York. And like the security in New York was amazing. Like I felt really safe. But then coming to DC, wow, I was just incredibly shocked by how much security there was. But then the other atmosphere was, even though there is a lot of police presence here, there's also the excitement and the undertone of, wow, you're really here. I mean, the opening ceremony to the expo, there was a line of like 400 to 500 people outside the expo just waiting to get in. And then I got to meet a guy that I believe is a real true American war hero. I mean, he has a Medal of Honor, which I don't know if you know what that is, Mark, but it's the nation's highest medal that you can get for being in the military. And I read his war citation before I went up there and met him. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I got to actually talk with him in the lobby the next day after that. And that was just a highlight. I mean, and knowing he was a Marine, like this was very, very impressive for me. And the expo itself was pretty good, but the atmosphere of the race morning, getting over there was a lot easier than New York City, a lot faster for sure. And the atmosphere to the start line, to the finish line, it was packed. I mean, there was maybe around mile 13 after the Blue Mile, it was a little desolate, but it wasn't that bad. Overall, there was a lot of people everywhere. I mean, and I saw spectators 4 and 5 times. So that was really, really impressive that you could just go back and forth and meet people at different times.
That's cool. So would you recommend it as a race?
I would, yeah. The only bad thing I didn't really like about it was how much it costs to actually go up to DC. I mean, we spent like $900 on lodging, which was right there by the expo. And that was like a really good deal. And if you don't stay there, you can stay somewhere closer to the finish line, which is even better in my mind. But then you have to worry about how are you going to get to the start line. Yep. It's a little bit of a back and forth. And then what about parking? Parking was free that Sunday, but where were you going to park for the expo? The expo is at the, I want to say Moody Gardens, but that's not it. It's at the Gaylord. And the Gaylord only has so much parking, and if you aren't there for that, then you have to pay to park somewhere else. And there's really not much parking in that little cul-de-sac of town center by National Harbor. But other than that, I mean, the actual race experience itself was really good. I liked it.
Okay.
So were you staying like it was a hotel you're staying in, or like a Airbnb accommodations or things like that?
I would say it was hybrid. So it was it was something other resorts right there in National Harbor, and basically what you could do is they have timeshare options available, and you can rent through people that have timeshare there, and that's what we ended up doing. That's how we got such a good deal on it. But it's also a normal hotel, and they can do it that way. And we had a 2-bedroom condo, basically. Instead of a hotel room, there were ceiling fans. It was a really nice condo, a lot of room. And my wife ended up signing us up for the dang timeshare meeting the day after the race. And she said, well, it's not going to be 3 hours like the last one we did. Okay. That ended up being 3.5 hours.
Oh, shit.
Girl.
bit of payback, you think it was?
Yes, it was.
Cheeky. So you said your accommodation, you were staying at the start end of the race?
We were staying at the expo, so not really at the start or the finish, but the way we got to the start line is from the Gaylord. Being that the Gaylord is the host hotel, they actually had shuttles from the Gaylord to the start line. And being that my wife was doing the 10K the same day of the marathon, she actually had to get to a different start line on the National Mall versus by Arlington at the Pentagon. So if you know anything about DC, the Pentagon is on the other side of the river as the National Mall, 2 different start lines, and they basically get a 20-mile head start on us to get to the finish line. So they have plenty of time to get done with their 10K while we're still running the full.
Yeah. Were they have it organised so there's different shuttles for different start areas? Or was it, hey, if you're not doing the marathon, you've got to get yourself to, say, the 10K or the half start by yourself?
So they offered a hybrid of that, basically. So you could take a shuttle to a subway, and then the subway would take you right near it, and then you could just get off there and walk 2 blocks and you're right there at it. For me, you get on the big buses. The buses take you over to the Pentagon, and then you get off. Then you go through security, which I thought was amazing. I mean, it's just like TSA. If you have bags, they go through your bags, whatever. They make sure it's a sanitized area. And then me and Morgan and Jonas, we all got there really, really early, and I'm so glad we did. We got there at the church tent, which was the only place that had chairs. So we got up there, and we all 3 took chairs, took them to the back, and nobody was there. Then about an hour and a half later, everybody started coming in and sitting on the ground, and we all had chairs. So I'm glad we got there early.
So we've kind of talked through the venue and the race and everything. Can we move into now some detail of kind of like the night before, what you do for food and kind of that last minute prep, and then that same kind of what's your race morning routine?
Okay. So the day before I got up, I had a Cliff Bar for breakfast with 16 ounces of water. And then after that,
what flavor Cliff Bar?
Chocolate chip.
Oh.
And then went over to the Gaylord to have breakfast with Morgan and Jonas, and then which was lots of bacon. I love bacon. And there was I think 4 or 5 slices of French toast there. And then that day was a little complicated. I don't know if y'all listened to the episode with Missy Norcross about what she did before Kona. But if you haven't, go and listen to that. And I have become somebody that needs something just like her. I'm learning that. Basically, hey, you wake up, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. Just leave me in my own little space the day before the race. I need that now. I know. But that didn't happen, and we went all the way to the White House, walked around the White House, the whole block around the White House. And I'm sitting here thinking, I want less than 10,000 steps today. I want less than 10,000 steps. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing for lunch? What about dinner? Y'all want to go gallivanting around DC, and I just care about getting off my feet today. I have a marathon to run tomorrow, and that was driving me up the wall. Yeah. So they ended up taking me back to the hotel, which was a good 30-minute drive back, and then they went and spent the rest of the day doing whatever they wanted to. I went and got a lobster roll for lunch, and then after that, we went and got Chipotle for dinner. Me, Morgan, and Jonas, we all went and got Chipotle, and then after that, we just said bye. Then we went over I went back to the room, laid out my stuff for the day to run. What all am I going to wear? Put my my bib and all that stuff on my belts, and just make sure I have everything. Make sure my phone's charging, and just went to bed. I was in bed probably about 8:39. Amory and them didn't get back till like 10, and I didn't really care. And then she just got in bed. Then I woke up about 4:30. I was gonna meet them at 5, I think, at the Gaylord. No, I was gonna meet them at 4:15 in the lobby of the Gaylord to get on the show with them at 4:30. So met them over there, and I actually made a race morning decision. I put on the singlet, and it just didn't feel right around my armpits, so I changed my singlet right then. I was just like, nope, I have another one right here. Brought another one, put it on. All right, it feels better. Change it, no big deal. Got over there to the Gaylord, met them in the lobby, got on the shuttle, headed to the start line. I was wearing throwaway pants, a throwaway jacket, and a arm warmers underneath that already pulled up, so it was a little bit warmer. And I don't think I had a throwaway beanie. I just had my regular run cap on. I wore just a regular run cap, and I had my sunglasses with me.
It wasn't that little umbrella hat that you
No, it wasn't the
see
umbrella
in some
hat.
photos of yours.
It wasn't that. I should have brought it, but I was just like, I can't really run with it on. So there's that. Other than that, got to the start line pretty early, hung out, and then met a few friends. One of the girls that's going to be coming on here a little bit later on a new series called the Expert Series. Met her, told her good luck, and she ended up having a pretty good day. And that was race morning until we went to the start line.
Yeah.
Had you set specific goals? I know you said it was all about having fun, but did you have some sort of, I mean, how did you dictate where people were going to meet you? And so you must have had some idea of what your goals for the day were.
So Jonas was actually going to do his own race, which was going to be a lot faster than mine and Morgan's. Morgan had asked me, hey, so about what pace are you wanting to run? And I was like, well, I've been training pretty easy at about 12-minute miles. So really just putting in the miles at an easy pace. Didn't use heart rate training. I didn't use any of this. Just all pace-based training. Super, super easy. And 12-minute mile pace. All right, cool. We're going to walk a lot anyway and just have fun. So I was anticipating around 5 hours, 30 minutes, 5 hours, somewhere in that range. When we see ourselves in the wave, once we got there, it was about there was a lot of people there. I don't remember exactly where we seated ourselves, but it was fine. It wasn't that hard.
Cool.
So, what kind of nutrition and stuff on course were you using? The on-course stuff, or do you just take your own?
I took my own nutrition, and I was using goos every 30 minutes, which a lot of people don't like goos, and much less that many, because I had, I think, 10 with me. And I was taking some Gatorade every now and then. Looking back on it, I didn't pack any salt stick pills, which I normally do. I would normally take 2 the night before and 2 the morning of, just to kind of avoid the cramping and get my sodium levels up to par. But I had not brought those, and I forgot all about that process, and I kind of regretted that because I had a little bit of cramping in the later stages of the race. But it wasn't anything traumatic, and I didn't really feel that bad the day after the race. The race corrals, once we got into the race corrals, to talk about that a little bit more, it was really amazing because they were doing the national anthem and all of that fun stuff. And to present the flags, they actually have people skydive, like Navy SEALs skydive, and then have this massive flag underneath them, and they just skydive, and then everybody looks up, and there's the flag flying in front of everybody, which that's pretty cool. I mean, you don't really get that anywhere else. And then as the cannon was going to go off. I mean, it's a howitzer. It's a big, really big cannon. And as they were going to launch that to start the race, there was an Osprey that was flying over us, which is basically flown always by Marines. And I thought that was really cool because it was like, wow, Like, and as they approached the start line flying over, they got to the very start line, like the very front of it, as the cannon went off. Like, the timing was impeccable. It was great.
Yeah. So you definitely couldn't miss the start cannon.
No, you couldn't. Not at all.
So how was it? How was the run?
The run went really well. I think looking back on it, I enjoyed it. The first 5 to 8 miles were really, there wasn't a lot of crowd support because it was all like on, it was on roads that a lot of athletes probably don't travel on, or not really travel on. That's a bad way to say it. A lot of roads that athletes aren't aware of. So let's see here. I'm pulling up. So the first, say, almost 6 miles was just a little over an hour, 12:05 pace, and it's all on most of that is on the west side of the river, and then you're cutting back onto the east side of the river, right along in Georgetown before you start going north in Georgetown, and that was really, really good. Now, some of those roads out there are just surrounded by woods, and I really found something really surprising out there is they had these trucks with cameras on them, like, as in plural, like cameras looking at the athletes, like for facial recognition or something, because there was a lot of cameras just mounted on trucks looking at the people. And then, like, you see one on one corner, and then, like, not even a quarter mile later, here's another one. And then I started paying attention to the bridges that we were going under. I mean, they were beautiful bridges, and on the top of them, there was no traffic. There were cops just standing there. So it's like, wow, nobody could drop something down on us. Like, that was my thought, which, okay, that's another layer of security. And every intersection we went through, not only was that intersection guarded by cops, but if you look past that intersection to the next intersection right down the road at the next block, there were buses at every corner of that to prevent anybody from getting to that intersection as well. Every parking garage that was along the route had a cop car in that, so that way nobody could come out of that parking garage. Like, It was just, the security was very intense, and I felt very safe as a runner there. After mile 8, I feel like we were starting to get back into the actual DC proper a little bit more, and that was really fun. Hitting the pace pretty well there. No big issues there. One of the biggest things was whenever we got to the river, whenever we got to about mile, say, 10.5, maybe 11, you have the Potomac River right there on your right side as you're going down, and here comes Marine One, which is the president's helicopter, and he's just flying along the river, looking at all the runners. I mean, I was like, wow, that could literally be the president. It's pretty cool, you know? Not every day I get to see Marine One, like, up close and personal. So that was pretty cool. And the Blue Mile, I'm not sure if y'all know about the Blue Mile or not, but that was quite emotional. Like, that was very personal to me. And do y'all know about the Blue Mile?
No, what is the Blue Mile?
Okay, so the Blue Mile is at mile 12, I think it is, 11 or 12. And it was literally where every 8 feet they have a picture on a 2-foot by 2-foot poster, basically, of a person who was killed in action. And that was for every 8 to 10 feet for the entire mile. And then towards the end, they start having people holding flags. And then some of those flags are being held by Gold Star families, which are families of the survivors of the KIA. That was very emotional. I mean, there was one guy right behind us that was like, you could hear him just bawling, like very emotional. And nobody really was talking too much during that. It was, hey, just shut it up and enjoy the emotions for this. And it was really powerful.
Wow. See, now we're all overcome with emotion and thinking about it. That's what I've heard about this race, and that's quite rare to have that feeling. It kind of takes away from the racing side of a race. It's that remembrance side as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's cool.
So, mentally, how hard was the race for you? Were there any non-supportive places on the run that made it hard, or when you hit the hard spots, there was people there that cheered you and got you through it?
I would say probably the hardest part that I encountered personally was probably about mile 21 or 22, and I was like, I don't have the energy to keep pushing, and my legs were cramping just a little bit. But before that, I saw one guy that was about mile 12 that was just having a terrible day from chafing. And Morgan, if you're listening to this, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But he had on short shorts, just like me, but they were red, white, and blue shorts. And he didn't put on Vaseline or Body Glide or anything like that. And his crotch was bleeding. He had blood going down both legs. Like, not just like a drop or two, but from afar, you could be like, oh my God, that's bad. Like, it was hideous. Like, it was very, very bad.
Can you imagine his post-race shower?
No, I can't. Thankfully. Thankfully, I can't. That is too much for me.
Oh, thighs. Thigh chafing, God.
Yeah, but mentally for me, I didn't feel like it was that hard. Like, whenever I got done with the race, it just mentally, I was like, wow, okay, cool. That was a marathon. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal for me this time. Like, this marathon took away the timidness that I used to feel about the marathon distance. And I feel like even people that do multiple Ironmans, the first one or two are like, oh my gosh, I have to do this again. And then by the third and fourth one, you're like, okay, it's an Ironman. Okay, it's a marathon. Okay, you go out here, do the training, you're going to get through it. You know, you get comfortable with it. And then by the time you do the 10th or 11th one, you're like, okay, cool. Here's how I'm going to improve this process.
Yeah. And how was the finish line experience?
The finish line here was pretty awesome. So the finish line, it's like its own little city they set up because they want to make sure it's sanitized. So they come in and they set up barricades, sanitize it all, and then they make sure it's all pretty well done there. And I don't really remember the finish line being wide across the road or wide across the park there, but they did have bleachers there. They did have a lot of crowds there, but even to get there, you had to get there pretty early to know your athlete. And Amory was there, and she had her mom somewhere nearby. Her dad was nearby on his hover-round. Literally, they rented a scooter for him. And then had two of her family members out of town in. And that was pretty interesting there. Lots of crowd support, lots of I'm trying to think. Lots of Marines around. One of the things that I didn't touch on was during the actual race, there was Marines through all the race giving aid to the aid stations and giving at almost every corner along the race. There were Marines present just looking at the crowd, like everywhere. Marines were everywhere just looking at the crowds, making sure, all right, cool. They weren't necessarily looking at the racers or the athletes. They were looking at the people watching the athletes. And that felt really, really good.
So once you cross the line, what do you do next?
Here, got my phone out, took a picture with Morgan, and We got in the lines to get our medal, so they push us through these little lines to little. I guess that's the best way. It's like we felt like cattle getting our medal. A officer would actually give you your medal, and once you get your medal, then you go up, get your picture if you want it. I didn't buy my picture. I might. I don't know if Amory wants me to get it or not. But after that, texting Amory, I was like, hey, where am I going to win right now? And they said, well, you need to go get your bag because I dropped a morning clothes bag.
Yeah.
Which had another pair of shoes, another pair of socks, and I brought my New York City Marathon finish poncho, which it was a little chilly, so I put that on. So glad I did. It was kind of nice to have that. After that, I said goodbye to Morgan. He went back because he had to actually head back to North Carolina that day, and I didn't. So I stayed in the finish area for a little bit, and then got in touch with Anne Marie, and she was like, okay. And then we went back. I changed, got a quick shower. I was able to shower before they got back because there were two different cars. So I got back. They got back shortly thereafter. I got out of the shower, and I think we went out and got dinner somewhere.
Back to carb loading and everything. Your meal after the race?
The meal after the race was a lobster roll.
Yeah.
I love lobster rolls and crab rolls and all that fun stuff. And they had a nice little lobster roll place right there at the National Harbor. So I went there. I frequented that place quite often while we were there.
Nice. Listen, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to shoot.
Well, I think
okay.
we're almost
no worries.
Yep.
Well, nice for you to join, and me and Mark will just continue it out, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice
All right.
chat. Take it easy. I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Have a good day, okay?
Yeah,
See
you
ya.
too. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers, Matt.
So, you finished the race, you've been back, you've had a shower, you decided, right, we're going out for dinner. Now the important part. What beer did you drink when you finished?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I did not.
No.
Not
Was
really.
it just concentrate on the lobster roll and
Yeah.
that's what I want?
I think I had some sweet tea or some Sprite or something, but nothing extravagant. I don't really remember where we went right afterwards for dinner. I know we went somewhere for dinner, but it was somewhere insignificant. It wasn't anything big. Oh, wait. So after the race, we went and I had a lobster roll and then had dinner with Monica and Brian, and I got to meet Alex, their daughter, and that was a really good dinner. I mean, it was about an hour south, I think it was, and that was just a really good dinner. I mean, they had so much food for us. It was just me and Emery, and we actually got to meet and talk with them. It was really awesome. And he is one of the highest ranks in the Army right now, and that was pretty awesome, actually, to finally get to meet one of my athletes that I used to coach.
So what's in store next for you?
So next is Chattanooga 70.3 in May, which is quite some time away. I've thought about registering for the Houston Marathon, which is down there by Gemma, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that one or not. I could, but so far they're already predicting this is going to be one of Texas's coldest winters. So I'm not sure if that's the one I want to do right now. Maybe I should just hold off a little bit.
What about, say, traveling overseas for a race or anything like that? You got that in the back of your mind? Or?
Like coming down to New Zealand doing something?
Yeah, maybe, you know.
I've thought about it. In 2020, I'll be doing the Comrades Marathon. Me and Ben have talked at length about doing this race together, and I'm really sure that in 2020 I'm going to toe the line down there in South Africa and make my go for Comrades. It's been on my bucket list since 2005, and all I have to do is maintain a 12-minute mile for 56 miles. So I'm going to try to do that.
Yeah,
And
you can start training now and work your way into it.
yeah, the goal next year, I believe, is I'll end up doing 2 marathons. One will be for fun, which might be the Marine Corps Marathon again, and then do another marathon about a month or 2 months later, and that will be my qualifying marathon, where I try to go about 3:45 to seed myself in the faster crowd, because in Comrades, it's a gun-to-gun race, and I need to make sure that I'm actually able to fully
to make the stage.
Yeah, make it as far up as I can in the crowds, because wherever you are in the crowds, that your time starts, and it can take up to 12 to 20 minutes to cross the start line in some years. So you want to make sure that you have all the time on your side that you can. And as long as I'm in front of the green bus, I think I'll be fine. And then once the 12-hour bus catches me at probably about mile 30, stay with the 12-hour bus or maybe 11-hour bus and just stick with them and hang in the bus and finish with them. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Well, if that's your plan, South Africa, bottom of the world, hop on a plane, fly around.
Yeah.
Stop in New Zealand on the way.
Just stop on the way, New Zealand on the way.
Just do another race.
Yeah. Well, that's in June, maybe July. So I'm not sure the actual date of it yet, but it'll be in June or July of 2020. Because they moved the race about 2 weeks this year, so I'm not sure when it's going to be or if they're going to move it again. But that will be a down run for 2020. Then 2025, go back and do the up run on the 100th year anniversary. Yeah. So that's the plan right now.
Start saving.
Yes, I already have.
Yep. Set out your plan for what you want to see as well.
Well, so the plan is probably just get there for about 2 weeks. Do 2 weeks there. Be pretty fun. So from everybody I've talked to, you want to get there a day for every hour it's off of your time zone. So that way you have a little bit of time to get over the jet lag, get your body used to a new routine, a new time zone, and then by that time you're used to it, then it's race day, and then afterwards you just use that time to recover.
I'll maintain we just stay awake as long as we can.
Yeah. I mean, I've done that before. I've been to Afghanistan twice, and the first time it wasn't that big of a deal because we had layovers, but the second time going over there, that was really, really rough. That sucked. Like, it took me 3 days to get over the jet lag at least, because I went from Dallas to DC, Doha, DC, Doha, Dubai, Afghanistan. And between takeoff from DC to landing in Afghanistan, it was less than 36 hours. And that's a 9.5 hour time change, or 10.5, depending on what year. And that was rough for me to get over.
So 2020 is your main race.
Yep.
And next year, you're planning 2 little ones.
Yeah.
What about a triathlon thrown in the middle of it?
The triathlon I'll do. I might do Galveston. I might do Galveston as a relay, and then do Chattanooga 70.3 in May. But I think after Chattanooga, I might take the back burner there for myself for triathlons, because Comrades is a running race. But I might incorporate some of the spinning and swimming in there as well, just to keep that in there. Because
try some of this new aqua jogging.
Yeah, try some of that. And then after Comrades, the goal is to go back to the full distance. So go back to the full distance, and that race will be a unique one, because with the podcast, I've gotten to hear all about these different race experiences, and I've kind of got an idea of what races are more of a priority than other ones. and which ones have some things that I would like versus things I don't like. So, I mean, road quality, I like smooth roads. I like nice scenic runs. So
I'd say don't bother coming to Christchurch for that marathon.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
The roads are still beat up from the earthquake.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, so it just really depends. I mean, I don't really see that big of a deal on that. It's just a matter of doing it. And going back to the full distance after Comrades, I feel like will be a really good thing for me because I haven't done a full since 2015 and already planning on 2021 as my next. I just feel like the 70.3 is a lot easier to balance it all.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on the currently a lot of the races are all having their swims cancelled and races all getting shortened somehow? You know, are you like, hey, it happens if you're racing, or would you be like, real frustrated, I put all this energy into it?
I used to think, I'd be frustrated with it. And I can understand if it's your first rodeo or second rodeo that something like that has happened. But now that I'm getting into the sport management side of things, and I can actually see that, hey, this is part of the risk management. This is part of keeping the athlete safe. You really need to actually say, okay, it happens, and the race officials are doing what's within their power to keep us safe. And that is actually part of it. I used to be frustrated with it, but now then it's more of okay, let's just make sure I'm alive and make sure that I'm not going to be at jeopardy to get hit by a log going down the river, or even worse, like in Louisville, the swim was shortened there because of how strong the current was. And they had a lot of rain there. At Chattanooga, the swim was canceled because they had a lot of rain there as well. And they did the right thing. The swim at Chattanooga was completely canceled. I mean, it was flooded. Some of the road for the run was flooded. They had to redo all that within days of the race. And then even at Waco 70.3, the swim was completely canceled because of flooding to that area. There's just so many different variables and so many different ways that people can get hurt that I feel like the athletes should really just consider, hey, the race officials are doing what's in their best interest to keep you safe within the event. Yeah.
What about if they cancel? You see, if you read all the plans and contingencies and things like this, you hear that, okay, they've cancelled the swim. It's now turned into a bike and a run. Why haven't they decided, hey, we're going to do a timed run start, or a 5K run and turn it into a duathlon?
I think that's a good idea. I think a lot of that, they don't want to do that because, one, they probably haven't thought about how to incorporate that equally, because a lot of the transition areas, even in America right now, I've started to pick up on, they want to make sure all the triathlons, especially with a specific brand, is all equal for everyone. And what I mean by that is, regardless of where you are in transition, it's going to put everybody on the same playing field. And whenever you incorporate a run like that, it's going to be a little bit different if it's a time trialed run start, or if you do a mass start and then everybody does, say, a 1K or a 1 mile run and then go to transition, then you have a bigger cluster of people out on the bike ride together, more drafting, more potential for bike wrecks. 2,500 people running a 1 mile run, you're going to get an average between 6 minutes and 12 minutes. Now then, between that 4-minute gap, how many people are going to be on the bike ride together or in transition together? Like, then, okay.
Yeah, flood it out.
Yeah, so that creates a bigger cluster of people than just the time trialed bike start. So that's probably one of the reasons they haven't done that.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, what else we got to talk about?
Well, you're the one asking the questions, not me.
You're just sitting there. So, what could have the Marine Corps Marathon done? Anything to make the experience better?
Oh man. The only thing that I really could think of at this point would be after the marathon was over, after I finished, the line to get out of the finish area was incredibly long, and it moved so slow. I'm not sure why it was moving so slow. I mean, I thought, maybe there was a security checkpoint up ahead that everybody has to go through. Not the case. I thought, maybe there was just some kind of wheelchair in the way. Wasn't the case. It was literally just not that big of an opening on the exit to get through. And that was kind of annoying because you already be on your feet for 26 or 27 miles here, and you're just tired of actually walking around, and then you have to stand still. That wasn't very cool. I didn't like that. Other than that, I feel like they did an excellent job hosting the race. Security was amazing. The crowd support was good. I mean, if they really wanted to make it a better race, I feel like they could incorporate a few more aid stations, especially on the first mile. Like, the first aid station wasn't until mile 3. So until then, I actually ran with a hand bottle, just keeping it there. So I didn't really have to worry too much about my water. I just used my own little water bottle for the first 3 miles and then tossed it after that.
So back on the course and the race itself, how did they set up their aid stations? What did they have, say, for a person going out there the first time, not knowing? They go, oh, okay, they've got this, this, and this because I've listened to somebody talk about it.
They had water, they had Gatorade, and
is it bottled water individual by itself, or just in cups?
In cups.
Yep.
Yeah. In cups, they had Gatorade in cups as well. The nutrition on course, I didn't really pay too much attention to it because I wasn't going to use it. I had my own nutrition that I was going to use, and I didn't really worry too much about nutrition. They did have some sort of gel. And then they had some sort of, I think some of the aid stations had pretzels or some things like that, but nothing big. I mean, what you get at normal marathons, and I'm sure they put it out what they're going to have at aid stations in the pamphlet. If I wanted to look into that they're going to give you at the expo.
Okay. In a couple of your photos, you're eating licorice?
I'm not eating any licorice. Morgan is eating the licorice. He got licorice from some bystanders, and he just started eating that. I mean, completely within the rules. They even had some shots of Fireball at mile 22, and he partook in that. I did not. Even
were
the
you
night
tempted to do it though?
Oh, I was, but I was like, I don't really want. If I have any type of reflux at all for the next hour, that would be a miserable hour. So I don't want to chance that.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of fun.
It does. It was. You should do it.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, we've got marathon tomorrow down here for us.
Yeah, but it's not this one.
No.
This one's better.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. What else we got? Back to your training for it. What was your hardest workout?
Oh man, hardest workout.
Your bulkiest week, hours and distance wise.
Oh gosh. Biggest week I'd probably say 8 hours of time, which would just consist of probably 3 to mean, heck, let me just pull it up. That'd be a little bit easier. So biggest week was about 7 hours and 15 minutes or so. And then after that is about 6 hours consistently, which was about 30 miles, thereabout, somewhere in that range. Average was about 4.5 overall. That's for my entire year, though, not the actual marathon training. Then the week of was a 30-mile week. So I did some runs that before the race.
30 miles, I'm just trying to convert that to kilometers.
So 30 times 0.62. Let's see here. So 30.62. 48.
That's a big distance worth of running for a week.
Yeah.
Not bad. So after you'd done all of that, what was your recovery like?
Recovery, so after we got back after dinner that night, I hopped in my normal tech boots and rolled out a little bit. And then after that, went to bed and woke up and did the whole timeshare bullshit with my wife and her mom and dad.
Did you find you started to seize up while you're sitting there?
No, but I was just so annoyed with that. Like, I did not want to be sitting through some timeshare BS the day after my marathon.
Yeah.
Didn't want to do that. And that was just super annoying. I can hear everything whoever is over there doing. Like, every zipper they open, every door they open.
She's putting bottles of beer in a little cooler bag.
Oh my gosh, I hear all of it. It is super loud too.
She's now got all embarrassed.
Oh gosh.
That's right. It's still early in the morning for her.
Gosh. But that was my recovery process. It was just going and using the normal tech boots, rolling out a little bit. When we were doing the timeshare, I just made sure I stood up a lot and ate.
Yep.
Eating was making sure, hey, I'm getting enough hydration in. And then after that, we had to go and get on a plane at like 3, I think it was. So we went to the airport, dropped the rental car off, and then I was sitting down for the rest of the day, basically. And that sucked. But just worked on a few things for the podcast that are analog, which is basically taking notes and comparing notes from other races. Because I got some exciting stuff coming up next year with it that I haven't released yet. So have to stay tuned for that stuff.
Yep. With how'd the body pull up, say, a week after?
The week after? I think.
Did you just kick back into just light training and keep rolling over, or did you just go, no, I've done that, I'm going to have a break?
So the week after, Ben said, hey, do whatever you want the week after. Like, literally, recover, do whatever you want. Which consisted of me going to school that Wednesday after, and I went up the flight of stairs that I normally do. I didn't take the elevator. I wasn't that sore. I mean, yeah, I could tell I did a long run, but I wasn't like in pain anywhere. I didn't have any blisters, and that I think was pretty good for me. And then after about 4 days, back to normal. And I did some light walking here and there, just on the treadmill, just getting 20, 30 minutes of walking in, not even wearing my watch or anything, just walking. And then using my boots some more, pump my legs through it, and felt good.
Okay. So, no blisters. That's got to be a pretty positive to come out of a long marathon run like that.
Yeah, I don't even feel like it's that big of an accomplishment anymore. I used to feel like it would be, but you wear synthetic socks, you put body glide on your feet, trim your nails.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you put anything on your feet? Yeah.
Yeah, body glide. You put that, man, I put that shit on everything. I'm like that grandma. Yeah. I put that shit on everything. Yeah. Put it on my nipples, just put it on my feet, put it on my crotch, everywhere. Yes. It goes
basically
everywhere.
Just dip your whole body in it.
Well, I wouldn't say whole body. I don't want that on my hands, but I mean,
it's just to take me back to a picture of, was it Burt Reynolds' movie, Vaselina's cowboy boots.
God. Yeah, what else you got, man?
Just trying to work out to your other races, podcasts. Oh, Laura Siddle says hi.
Really?
Yeah, I'm catching up with her today.
Really? Well, tell her I said hi.
Will do. She's just got back in the country yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that she was going back down there. I know that she goes from Europe down to New Zealand back and forth, but I didn't realize it was so quick.
Yeah, she's pretty much we're second home.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to get her back on here sometime.
Yeah, she's down in Wanaka for a while.
Wow. Because it's warmer.
Oh, it's just more scenic. And you got all the hills and good training ground. That's Braden Curry trains down there, and you can get lost out in the mountains and just have fun.
Lucky. One day.
One day. Yeah, put on the list.
Wow. Well, what else, man?
If we've got any more on your questions. Right. In your definition of a perfect race, was it?
Man, I've heard so many different answers, and I feel like after hearing so many different people's answers, my answer has been morphed, because before I started this podcast, that was the idea for me to find what I thought was the perfect race. I've had a few good races. I don't think I've had the perfect race. In my mind, the perfect race would be whenever you toe the line healthy, injury-free, with the most confidence you've ever had, ever. Like, you get up there on race day and you are like, I'm here to crush it. This is my bitch. I'm going to own this race more than any other race I've ever towed the line to. And then through the race, you're able to not have any mental bad spots, no negative thoughts in your mind. And every time you pick up a cup from an aid station, all the water goes in your mouth. You throw the cup and it goes directly into the center of the trash can. Anytime you want to take a stride or push a little bit harder at any point during the race, your body responds and you're able to push harder. And you don't have to win the race, but you definitely get a PR. You definitely get a PR no matter what that is for you. And at the finish line, you collapse because you gave it your all. And you realize that you're giving it your all because a mile and a half before the finish line, you're having to dig and your body is saying, we don't have much left. Your muscles are screaming. Your back is hurting, but you're not going into any mental bad spots during this. And as you approach the last 800, those muscles start screaming even more, but there's still no bad spots. And you're able to sprint harder on that last 800 because your legs are screaming and because you know that the pain is about to go away, but there's still no mental bad spots. And as you finish, you just collapse and you're completely done. You left nothing on the table. Everything went according to plan. You walk away with a PR. That's a perfect race for me.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that you did your best. You didn't rely on pace. You didn't rely on heart rate or power or any of that nonsense. You did what you could do at that time, and your body responded well. Yeah, you had to push through some physically bad spots, but no mental bad spots. And that would be a perfect race for, I feel like, myself and a lot of people.
So what tricks do you use when you, say, hit a bad spot in a race? Do you talk to yourself? Do you start wandering your mind, or do you start humming some silly song that you heard that morning?
After talking with a few people, the first one that mentioned it was Joe Adrian's, and then Adam Zuko, and a few others started mentioning this trend of, if you hit a mental bad spot, you need to objectively look at that thought and say, this is a mental bad thought. I want to quit. Hold on. Take that thought and hold it in your hand and say, I want to quit. Hold that in your hand and say, okay, that's a bad thought. Why am I having bad thoughts? More than likely, you're behind on nutrition. So as soon as you think of a bad thought, you say, okay, when was the last time I ate? How's my hydration? Chances are one of those two things are off. Go ahead and eat something. Go ahead and drink something. Chances are that will go away. Because you're not nourished enough. That's your way of your body saying, hey, stop doing what you're doing because we don't have enough fuel. It is making you mentally play tricks on yourself. So knowing that, that's what I do now, is I try to objectively look at my thoughts more and say, this is why I'm having this thought.
That's interesting, actually. I might try that when I hit a bad spot somewhere.
It's hard because it's so easy to go, well, I'm in this thought. All right. I hate this. Why am I hating this? Well, take that and go, okay, wow, these are bad thoughts. Why am I having this bad thought? It's so hard to pull that out of your mind and go, oh, this is a bad thought. Okay, I need to eat something. It's hard to do that. And doing that takes a lot of discipline and practice.
What's the funniest thing you've ever seen at a race?
Funniest thing I've ever seen at a race. I've seen women pee on the side of roads with no shame. During this race, I bet I saw 200-300 men on the side of roads peeing. There were some signs during this race that were pretty funny. I can't think of any specific one right now. There was cat window at mile 10. There was literally pictures of cats in windows at mile 10, and people were holding, hey, this is the cat window at mile 10. I'm like, okay, what? I don't understand, but okay. I mean, it was like a cardboard cutout of a cat into a window on a poster. Like, you literally just did that. I think that guy that had blood going down his legs, that was just that wasn't funny, but man, I could feel his pain. I don't know if you know about the whole
do you think he finished?
I'm sure he did. That just had to be miserable for the last 12, 13 miles of that race for him, at least.
Yeah, I remember we saw a guy about 2 weeks ago. We were in Auckland for the marathon up there, and he had finished the run, and he had blood red nipples.
Ugh.
I was just like, oh man, you're going to be sore.
Yeah. Just too much.
Yeah. Were there people dressed in funny outfits and things like that?
I didn't. There could have been, but I don't really remember any that really come to the top of my mind. I mean, if you want to count the damn finisher T-shirt, that was hideous. But have you seen the Marine Corps Marathon finisher of 2018?
No.
Oh my goodness. It looks like a rainbow threw up on this thing with people taking selfies on the front of it. It's interesting. I'm not ever going to wear it. I'm going to put it in a T-shirt quilt with all my other T-shirts that I have. I mean, I have so many T-shirts from races and volunteering, and it's fun, but I'm not ever going to wear it.
So, did anything go wrong for you in the race? And did you learn from it, or what lessons did you learn from doing this?
My biggest takeaway would be don't be scared of the marathon. It's just 26.2 miles. Yeah, it's a long-ass way to go, but don't be scared of it. You have nothing to be scared of. It's a marathon. You'll make it. Don't worry about it. Like, you have plenty of time. You can do it. Just do it.
Yeah. All right. We'll finish up with thank you for your time. We've enjoyed talking to you about your race and your insights, and we look forward to following more on the Perfect Podcast.
Hey, so it was awesome to actually be the interviewee for a change, and I look forward to following you in the future, Mark.
It's great to finally turn the tables on you.
Yeah, this was fun. We'll have to do this next time. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.